Hey friends, The Witcher is actually kind of a big deal right now. Not only do we have The Witcher 3 finally coming to the Nintendo Switch, we also have The Witcher TV series coming out. And on top of that, there's actually been tons of mods that have been coming out for The Witcher 3 on PC. And included is ray tracing on The Witcher 3. So today we kind of wanted to go through what we could do to The Witcher 3 and get it as beautiful as possible for a game that came out like half a decade ago at this point, which is crazy. And it's also a good way to spend our time waiting for Cyberpunk 2077 to come out. So we've already got it set up. I just want to show you guys what ray tracing on The Witcher 3 actually looks like. This is gorgeous. This is fabulous. This is actually what's going to look like on the Nintendo Switch. This is amazing. Look at that. All ray traced and glorious and no textures anywhere. Look at those goose. Okay, but for real, let's go ahead and actually walk you guys through how to get The Witcher 3 set up properly, running as beautiful as possible, because there are tons of mods for it that make it look so gorgeous. And we're gonna do that after I tell you about today's video sponsor. Today's video is actually brought to you by Skillshare. They're an online learning community with thousands of different classes and a bunch of different subjects such as business, marketing, technology, and even game design. And especially since we're talking about modding The Witcher today, you can check out this Unreal Engine 4 Intro to Game Design course that will help you teach the basics so that you understand how game modification works and what the essentials are to your video game. Premium membership to Skillshare gives you unlimited access to high quality classes from experts in their field so that you can work on your skills, you can develop whatever you want to, and you can unlock new opportunities or just get a bigger brain, which everybody wants. And Skillshare is more than affordable with an annual membership costing less than $10 a month. And if you use the link in the video description, skl.sh/UFDtech, for the first 500 people to use it will get a 2-month premium membership for free using that link below. So get your learning on, check out Skillshare, links in the description. Okay, so obviously that was a little bit of a goof. That's actually a mod for The Witcher 3 known as Under 9000, which is supposed to make it playable on whatever potato system you might have. You might want to consider checking that out if you have something that's like even worse than a 1050 Ti. But what I want to show you is how we go from this, which is currently what I'm running, the base game of The Witcher, to something that's actually really, really gorgeous. There's several mods that came out on July 17th that enabled everything to kind of be reworked. There was textures implemented, there's also ray tracing that can be implemented via a new shader, and you can get a whole lot more out of The Witcher 3 than you think you can, and it's actually worth going back to it and playing it again, and it can hit your system a lot harder than you think. Because my personal system, which is what we're running this on, you can see it's running at about 144 frames per second. This is with my i5 8600K, as well as a 2080 Ti MSI Gaming X Trio. So that's everything. This is the base game. As you can see, it looks really good, but it's not as good as you could possibly get it. So I'm gonna walk you guys through how we can make some improvements and show you the before and after. So first up, what we want to do is head over to a place called Nexus Mods, which has basically everything that you're going to want in order to make this work for you. So primarily, the thing that you're gonna wanna look at is the Witcher 3 HD Reworked project, which is something that you should run even if you don't have an RTX card, but I'll get back into that a little bit later. The ray tracing that we're using here can run on GTX as well as AMD cards. But this, the Witcher 3 HD Reworked project, is a mod that got revamped on the 17th of July, and as you can see in their YouTube video, the textures just get a lot more detailed, a lot crispier. Look at that deer right there. My goodness, it has fur where it didn't have it before. It's fantastic. So it adds a lot to it, but the big one that I really like is something that implements that HD rework into it, which is this Exodus reshade. You get a whole lot more out of The Witcher if you use something like this. So this includes ambient light, chromatic aberration. It has a whole bunch of different settings that you can implement. Some of them I've chosen not to just because I don't like the way it looks, but it actually ends up turning out really good. And there's a few other mods that they recommend that you install before that, and you can do that all on the Nexus Mod website. You have the Phoenix lighting mod, the HD Reworked project, as I as I mentioned, and then a nitpicker's patch, plus other things such as level of detail for trees and adding some beautiful rocks, HD monsters reworked, the Hairworks level of detail is increased, and then the no dirty lens effect. It just gives you a whole bunch more that you can actually enjoy with The Witcher 3. Now, as far as getting ray tracing set up, that's the one that's going to take a little bit more out of you, because this is actually somebody's personal project that they have released on their Patreon side. They do it through this program known as RicheAid. This is actually something that you can use even if you don't want to do ray tracing. RicheAid is available no matter what you're trying to do. It's actually a pretty simple download. You get RicheAid, you run it. Essentially, you choose the game, you choose the API that it's rendering at, and then you can implement a whole bunch of post-processing stuff onto the game that will allow you to get some cool stuff, including, like, let me just show you guys one quickly before we get the ray tracing stuff set up. You can have a chroma key built into the actual game right here, so that you can, it does it based on the depth map of the game, so you can put yourself in the background as just like a overlord behind it. There we go. There's your boy, hiding as an overlord in The Witcher 3. It doesn't necessarily work perfectly, but it'll chroma key out all of the green in the game. And so your boy is just a monster hanging out in The Witcher 3 world, which is kind of cool for anybody who wants to do some live streaming, but it's not really what we're going for here. We're going for more beauty, so let's get rid of that. But RicheAid allows you to have all of those effects. And if you want to look at like games that it's actually compatible with, it's nearly everything besides DX12 and Vulkan games. It can inject into DX9, DX10, DX11, as well as OpenGL. And you can see here on the website all of the games that compatibility with, good, perfect, some of them are okay. Games such as PUBG don't work because you can't have depth buffer access while it's a multiplayer game. Anyways, that's all cool. So you download RicheAid, which will allow you to do the post-processing injection, and then in order to get the actual path trace global illumination that you're gonna put in it, you have to go to somebody's Patreon known as Pascal Glitcher. So right now you go to Pascal Glitcher's Patreon page, you sign up for the $20 or more a month to get alpha access to the experimental mods, which includes the path trace global illumination. You have access to a Discord server then, and allows you to get the global illumination inputted into the game. That's really cool, and it's not just The Witcher 3 that will allow you to do this. This is any game that's compatible with RicheAid. This is a mod that you add onto RicheAid. So all of it is really cool, and Nexus Mods is really helpful for you figuring out how to actually install this. Most of it's just zip files that you have to unzip and then place into specific folders down on your Witcher 3 install path. Witcher 3, then if you go to bin, you go to x64, RicheAid shaders, all of the shaders are there, all of the textures are there for everything that you're gonna kind of increase. So as I mentioned, this is just the base game with no mods established in it right now. This is how it looks. It's still pretty gorgeous, but there's a lot more that we can do. There's some tree implementations that we can fix. We can fix these clouds up here because these kind of look stupid. We can increase the textures with that HD rework patch, and then we can add some ray tracing onto this game to get a completely different experience. And yes, there is gonna be a performance hit. Ray tracing is the hardest one out of the bunch, but if you don't have ray tracing, you can still get this looking really good and only lose a few FPS. So you can see right now we're running in the 160 region. Let's try to remember that as we move on to installing the mods. Okay, so these are all of the mods that I have. I have a custom timescale mod, beautiful rocks, custom localization fix. That's just to make sure that the HD rework shows up correctly in the texture settings. Monsters reworked, the tree increased level of detail, hair physics level of detail, better clouds, better monster pack, no dirty lens effects, and then the Phoenix lighting mod, on top of all of the other things that we're gonna get included with RicheAid. Okay, so there we go. We have all of the mods installed. I mean, look at those clouds. They're not just little globs of crap now. The trees look a little bit better. The textures are definitely more improved, and we've lost about 20 FPS, which on the whole isn't too bad, going from 160 down to 140, something that I can totally handle, especially in an action RPG like this. Just making sure that it's above 60 is kind of what I want. So in order to access the RicheAid menu, it's just as simple as hitting the home button, and then you have access to all of the different RicheAid configurations. So I showed you guys the chroma key one from earlier, but then they also have some ambient inclusion, which looks really freaking good. Just that change right there looks really good. Now, if we watch the frame rates, we're losing about 30 FPS by using the ambient occlusion, and then we're gonna probably lose about another 20 to 30 by adding ray tracing, and there we are, down to 77 FPS from what was 140. But then let's add some sharpening, let's add some anti-aliasing, and then colorfulness. This is one that I actually like. Obviously, especially with the colored ones, you can change depending on what you like, and there are plenty of other color modification ones that you can use, such as Lightroom, which will allow you to tweak everything. So all of your hues, your exposures, your saturations, your global exposure, your global black curves, mid-tone curves, everything that you could possibly want, in fact, everything that you would have in a program like Lightroom to modify the lighting or the color accuracy of the picture, you can do that here. I just have it off because I appreciate what it is without that. But as you can see, we are completely different. We've lost about 90 FPS, but we can also see exactly what is eating up all of our power with the statistics on RicheAid. Shows us that the ambient occlusion is costing us an entire 2.5 milliseconds. The ray tracing is costing us 3.5 milliseconds on the GPU. So there is definitely a performance hit, but I think this looks so much better. I'm still running over 60 FPS with my 2080 Ti, and it just looks so good. Like, turning off ambient occlusion adds a lot more depth on the shadows, and then ray tracing as well. There's already a lighting mod on here, but the ray tracing really allows things such as the shadow detail to come out. And if you look at this comparison that we're putting on the screen right now, we did a 24-hour time lapse in the game, and you can see there's a very clear detail between the looks of having ray tracing and all of the RicheAid mods on versus just having those regular mods that I installed versus just the base game. And honestly, I think this is the way that I would want to play The Witcher. You have everything increased, so this looks very much like a modern game. The ray tracing is there, the ambient occlusion is there, everything that you could possibly want is in this game, and it makes it look so much better than it was at the base game. Like, especially Geralt's armor. Freaking look at that. Look at how detailed his armor gets when you turn everything on. Oh, it's so good. And there are tons of other mods that you can actually add to this game. There are things such as higher detailed faces. You can adjust the gore level in the game to make it so that you dismember on every hit. You can adjust basically everything, and Nexus Mods has everything that you could possibly want for doing that. I just thought with the new HD rework patch that came out, and then also the RicheAid global illumination that you could possibly introduce into a whole lot more games, I wanted to check this out for myself, and I am not disappointed. Obviously, this requires a 2080 Ti to even hit over 60 FPS at 1080p, so your mileage may vary, but even if you don't want to include the ray tracing, you can still get over 60 FPS and still have it look so gosh dang good. I really think it just adds a lot of detail in the shadows, making sure that this is a more realistic world. I don't know, I think it personally helps with the immersion in the game. So we'll put it on the screen one more time. The no mods, just base stock, adding mods, but no ray tracing and ambient occlusion, and then all of the reshading stuff on top of that. Which one do you guys prefer? Obviously, as I mentioned, you can tweak the colors and the saturation to whatever you want. If you think it looks a bit too cartoony, you can remove that. You want a better denoiser, you can add that. You want some film grain, you can add that. You want depth of field for whatever reason, you can have that. That exists. I don't like it, but it exists. So let me know what you think of these Witcher 3 mods down below in the comments. Is this something that you're interested in? And if so, are there any other games that you would like us to test out and see if we can modify them to make them look the best that they possibly can? I'm keen to hear from you down below in the comments. And again, big thanks to everybody who had these mods over on the Nexus Mod community. You've got the people who made the HD reworked project. You've got the person who compiled the Exodus RicheAid. And then again, also the Pascal Glitcher Patreon in order to get the global illumination. We're gonna have links for all of that down below in the comments for you guys to check out if it's something that you're interested in. And don't forget about today's video sponsor, Skillshare. Of course, check them out. Get your free 2-month membership by clicking the link that's in the video description. Get your learning on, learn game design, learn marketing, learn technology, whatever you want. Just get a bigger brand and make sure that you know what you're doing with your life. And if you don't, figure some things out, get the knowledge. And that's it. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and us checking out this kind of stuff. Get subscribed to stay up to date on all of our tech related content. I'm Brett with the UFD Tech channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see your smiling faces again in the next video. Love you too, bye.